Your boy is back with another motivational word, another gift from God. If you don't already know, my name is Matthew, which biblically translates to God's gift, which is why I call these videos a gift from God. The prophetic message that I got today is when everything looks like it's falling apart, is actually God putting it all together. There are several things going on in my own personal life where I literally feel like it is non coincidental. There is no way that it is a coincidence that this is happening, or that happening, or this is happening, or this happened on this day, or this happened on that day. And because I have such a faithful mindset, I know that it's God preparing me for something so great. And that's the same mindset that you should have. When everything seems like it is falling apart, you just have to know, because of faith and because of the way that God works, that that is Him literally putting it all together. Say for example, say for example, say for example, you have a job that you do not like, and every single day you have to travel to work in this car to get to your job. And said car for some reason has been giving you trouble. Then one day it just stops working. Now you can't go to work. You have to call out of work because your car stopped working. But on that same day that your car stops working and you can't go to work, you have the most peaceful day at home ever. Ever. And you just start thinking, dang, my day was a lot better without this damn job. Maybe I should quit. Maybe I should find something else. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. And lo and behold, if it wasn't before that car breaking down, you would have never had that peaceful day to even be able to question whether or not it was possible to quit that job. Bro, when everything starts falling apart in your life, that is God literally putting it together. Literally putting it together. I talked about this situation a few weeks ago on my channel where, or maybe I didn't. I think I did in one of these videos, how I was working at my apartment complex. I was working across the street at a pizza place. And at this pizza place, the lady wanted to make me a supervisor, then a manager, and it happened very, very fast. Very, very fast. Up until a certain point where I don't necessarily know where exactly where her mindset shift, but I could feel her energy, her spirit towards me shift at a particular time, and I don't necessarily know the cause of it. Still to this day, don't know the cause of it. Don't really care what the cause was. So they fired me from that pizza place under the guise of me stealing, which I know and they know that I was not stealing. That was just the excuse that they used. Meanwhile, the whole time I hated working there. I hated it. I hated it. I hated being around her. I hated being around the employees. I literally hated being there every day. And I hated being there after literally the second week. So after I got fired from that job, that is when I started to literally ask God, what do you need me to do? What would you like me to do? Where do you need me to go? What would you like me to do? Over and over and over and over and over again. And if it wasn't for having the free time after quitting that job, which was taking so much of my time, while not giving me a lot of resources that I could use for other things, I would have never started doing these videos on this channel. I would have never started doing prophetic messages. I would have never got on here every single day talking to other believers. Like, I would have never, ever, ever did any of that. I would have been stuck at that job, being miserable, being unhappy with people that literally are not believers, people who are not Christ-like, which is really the ultimate reason why I feel like they accuse me of that, because they weren't Christians, and of course the Christian in the space is going to get persecuted. But man, and even a second ago, right? I'm sitting at the park. I'm reading a book. Sitting at the park reading a book. And I sit down on the lawn, and one of these older black guys, he starts picking up the chairs beside me and he starts moving them. And because I see that he's moving them, I look at him and I was like, hey, do you need me to move? Uh, And he's like, yeah, blase, blase. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so I'm sitting in the chair, and I asked him again, like, hey, where would you like me to put this chair? Because I was going to help him move it. He was like, oh, I'll move it in a second. The whole time while he's doing that, he's giving me like the nastiest attitude. Nastiest. I asked him if he needed me to move because I could see him moving them, and I didn't want to be in the guy's way. Like, I see you doing your job, so like, do you need me to move? So, I move, and I move to another seat where he moves the chairs is where I move to. He's still doing his job, which is like he's cleaning up the lawn and using the leaf blower and everything. I don't know if you can hear him. You probably can hear him. So I sit in another chair because he moved the chairs out of the space that they were in to the organized positions. So I just sit in one of the chairs that he moved to another place because now they're all set up. About 5 minutes later, I'm still reading my book. I hear him scream, sir, 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 I need you to move. I need you to move. I'm trying to, I'm like, I just asked you if you needed me to move, like, and you didn't say anything. You just said that you're gonna move the chairs, and I asked you if you needed me to move the chairs, and he's like, I don't care where you move. I don't, And I'm like, oh, okay. Just the way that he's communicating with me, I know in his spirit that he's not right, because Scripture says, answer with yes or no. Anything else is not of God. I'm like, okay, just by how you're communicating with me, I know you need Christ. Just by how you're coming at me very, very abrasively, I know you need Christ. So at this point, I'm like, okay, let me just move from these chairs, right? So I move over there to the. Oh, this is the other thing that he says. He's like, oh, if you wanna read somewhere, you can go to the library. The library is right across. It's on Smith and da 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 da. Now, if you on my channel, you know I'd be at that damn library every day. Every day. So how would he know in his mind to tell me to go sit at the library? Again, I knew he was not right in his spirit. He needs Christ. I know he's the devil. I know that's how he knows. So I just moved and go sit on the bench. Literally, I'm reading the book. 5 minutes later, I hear him talking to somebody else. This MF or this, and he needs to move, and da 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 da. Bro, I'm at the park reading a book. You would have thought that I was out here with friends, drinking, and blase blase, and doing a whole bunch. I'm at the park reading a book, doing nothing more, nothing less than what you do at the park. So I'm thinking, dang, Lord, like, what is the problem? I'm literally reading a book. What is the issue? So one of his coworkers comes up to me, and he's like, hey, man, can you go somewhere else? Because my friend is like really, really passionate about his job and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, I don't really understand what the problem is. I'm at the park reading a book. And he's like, oh, well, he's just trying to blow the leaves and everything. And I was like, I mean, yeah, I understand that. I asked him if he needed me to move, and he didn't really give me an answer. And then I asked him, oh, damn. And then I asked him if he needed me to move a chair to a specific spot. So, I was sitting in that chair. Does he need me to move it somewhere? And he didn't give me an answer. So I moved from the seat I was in to another seat. And then from that seat over here. He was like, I know, but like, if we may have to call our supervisor to come over here and tell you the same thing. I was like, okay, well, you can just call the supervisor, because I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary than what you do at a park. I'm not really understanding what the problem is. I'm just thinking, Lord, what is the issue? Like, why is me even being at the park falling apart? Like, I can't even sit and read my book in a seat without it being a huge ordeal. What is the issue? So, lo and behold, the supervisor, they call the supervisor comes over here to me. He's like, hey, man, can I ask you if you can, like, move somewhere else and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, yes, sir. I don't really know what the problem is. Like, I asked him if he needed me to move. Again, reiterating the same thing, He's like, I understand. If you want, you could go move to the benches behind where I'm sitting. There's a fountain. He's like, you can move to the benches behind the fountain. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I asked him if he needed me to move and where would he like me to move to. He didn't really give me an answer. All he was doing was talking under his mouth and saying just nasty stuff, and I didn't understand what the problem was while I'm reading this book. Like, what is the problem? So lo and behold, the guy that I'm talking to, I can see on his arm, on his right arm, he has a cross. On his left arm, he has prayer hands. So I could tell that I was speaking to someone that could recognize my spirit. So he kind of like cut me off a little bit, and I was like, wait, sir, let me explain. So when I said that, he literally got down on my level, sat on the bench with me, heard me out, and that's when he said, you can go sit behind the fountain, the benches behind the fountain. I'm like, okay, I got you. So I go sit behind the benches behind the fountain, and as I'm doing that, he goes and talks to the guy. Still, the guy is like, I don't know what the guy's problem is. Again, I know what his problem is. He's not of Christ. I understand. He's not of Christ. He goes and talks to the guy, and then he meets me by the benches. When he meets me by the benches, I literally tell him, man, that guy needs Christ. Like, he needs Christ really, really badly. And I guess he could understand where I was coming from because he's his supervisor. And he was like, you know what, man, I understand. We all need Christ. We all need him. But some of us need him a little bit more. And I was like, interesting. So you already know. You already know him. There, me and him had a conversation about the book I was reading. I asked him if he had kids, that if he had kids, then he should definitely get him this book because it's about a rich black family, and the family's the only black rich family in Chicago, and they have a carriage company, and man, we had a conversation about Christ. And it's like, if all that didn't happen, if all that little chaos that the devil tried to conjure up didn't happen, I would have not met another believer. And notice how the devil tried to get me scared of, oh, well, we're going to have to go call a supervisor if blase, blase. Lo and behold, the supervisor was a believer who I got to speak with, share what I was reading with. It's like, bro, that's what the devil does. He tries to create chaos, these little forms and balls of chaos to make you feel as if things are falling apart when all he's doing is redirecting you to where you're supposed to be. All that guy did was redirect me to where I was supposed to be. And speak to his supervisor about his character. So as I was continuing to read my book while I'm on the benches behind the fountain, another guy comes up and he's like, I don't know who he was, but he was talking to the supervisor and then the guy that also told me that he was gonna have to call the supervisor. And the guy comes up to me and he was like, hey man, don't let him get in your head. Don't let him get in your head. And I was like, bro, never. I know the devil when I see him. He was like, that's right. And he was like, I just told him, I was like, man, my name is Matthew for a reason, bro. Like, I'm not worried. Like, I understand. He was like, yeah, exactly. He was just like, just stay in school, man. Just stay in school. One day you're going to be his boss. And I said, brother, I already am. And we both started cracking up laughing. And it's like, bro, the devil literally just moves you to people who understand. Man. That's all the devil does. He moves you in a direction and towards people who understand. And those people that understand literally know the spirit of the other person. Man. So, if you have things in your life where it's like these little balls of chaos keep happening over and over again, and you're just like, Lord, I'm being obedient. You told me to do specific things. I'm being obedient. I'm treating people well. Like, what's the problem? Man, that's just the devil's way of moving you towards God's plan. Little does he know. Little does he know. So yeah, y'all. If you feel like in your life things are just falling apart, it just looks like they're falling apart, like you have to literally just remain positive and remain faithful. Remain positive and remain faithful. Remain positive and remain faithful. Like the verse that literally just popped in my head and it always does is Jeremiah 29:11. Like, I have plans to prosper you, not for your harm. Nothing that God does is for your harm. It's all for his will, his greatest optimal will for your life. And if you truly believe that, it will come into fruition. It will come into fruition. It's not falling apart. It's God putting it all together. But yeah, y'all, that's the prophetic message I got today. That's what the Lord put in my mind, body, soul, and spirit to share with you all. Again, my name is Matthew with another gift from God. Like, comment, subscribe, and go back and rewatch this message if you caught it at the end. And I'll be back tomorrow. Peace, y'all.